Open-mouth kiss that lasted 7 endless seconds while the entire world watched. 5.5 feet away in a custom emerald silk gown that cost more than most houses sat his wife, Dr. Amara Harrington, paralyzed from a waist down for the last 8 years. The woman who once saved his life with her own hands. The woman whose wheelchair gleamed under the spotlights as her husband chose in front of every camera on Earth to show the planet who he loved now. The room went dead silent. You could hear ice melting in glasses. Amara didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply looked at Alexander, looked at Chloe, and the corner of her mouth lifted into the coldest, smallest smile anyone had ever seen. Then she pressed the joystick on her chair, turned with perfect grace, and wheeled herself off the stage while the internet caught fire. Now, let's go back to the beginning because nobody saw this coming. 18 years ago, Alexander Harrington was nobody. A 24-year-old college dropout bleeding out on a trauma table after a drunk driver smashed into his beat-up Honda. The surgeon who fought for 6 straight hours to keep him alive was Dr. for Amara. 28, gorgeous, brilliant, already one of the best trauma surgeons in New York. When he opened his eyes 3 days later, the first thing he saw was her face. He told her, half delirious, "I'm going to marry you one day." She laughed and said, "Pay your hospital bill first," but he didn't marry her. 2 years later in a courthouse, while he was still sleeping on friends' couches and writing code until his fingers bled, Amara believed in him when no investor would. She emptied her savings account, $47,000, everything she had to fund his first server farm. She worked double shifts so he could chase his dream. When Harrington Tech exploded and made him a billionaire before 35, the world called them the ultimate love story. Black excellence meets tech royalty. Magazines put them on covers. The couple who built an empire on love. Then came a night that changed everything. A drunk driver again. Only this time the victim was Amara. Spinal cord severed at T6. Doctors said she would never walk again. Alexander carried her out of the hospital in his arms. Tears streaming down his face, cameras everywhere. He looked straight into the lenses and swore, "I will love her, protect her, and carry her for the rest of my life." The world cried with him. For 8 years Amara smiled for the photos. She became the beautiful, tragic face of the Harrington Foundation for Spinal Cord Research. She gave speeches from her chair that left audiences in tears. She never complained, never looked broken. Behind closed doors, Alexander started staying out late. Then whole nights, then entire weekends in Miami, Dubai, and Mykonos. Chloe Voss entered the picture 18 months ago. 25, blonde, 1 million followers, famous for being famous. Alexander bought her a penthouse, put her on the payroll as a brand ambassador, and told the board it was marketing. Amara knew. She always knew. Back to the gala. The kiss wasn't a slip. It was a declaration. Alexander wanted the world to know he was done pretending. When a reporter shoved a mic in his face outside, he smirked and said, "Amara and I have an understanding. We're very modern." Chloe posted a photo. An hour later, her lips still swollen from the kiss. Caption: "Finally free to show the world." Heart emojis. 3 million likes in 20 minutes. The internet turned Amara into a saint overnight. She gave that man everything. He waited until she couldn't leave him. Black women stay protecting men who don't deserve it. Memes, think pieces, celebrity tweets. Someone started a GoFundMe called Wheels for the Queen that raised $2 million in a day, just because people wanted her to feel loved. Amara said nothing. No abuse. No tears on Instagram Live. She vanished from public view completely. That night, in a 30-room mansion that used to feel like home, Amara wheeled into the bedroom she hadn't shared with her husband in 2 years. The staff had already gone home. She locked the door, opened her laptop and created a new folder titled Project Phoenix. She typed a single line in bold. He wanted the world to see him kiss her. In exactly 100 days, the world will watch him lose everything. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she allowed herself one tear, just one, because even queens are human. She wiped it away, closed the laptop and whispered to the empty room. "You think silence is weakness, Alexander. Watch me teach you what silence can build." Outside, the paparazzi waited for a crying wife. Inside, a legend was waking up. The countdown had begun 100 days, and the world had no idea what was coming. 99 days of silence. The world kept screaming for Amara. Petitions, hashtags, talk show hosts begging for an exclusive, but she gave them nothing. She woke up every morning at 5 a.m. wheeled into the glass office Alexander had built for her for when she felt better and worked. No tears, no posts, just black coffee and a quiet click of keys while the man who humiliated her partied on yachts with Chloe. What the world never knew was this. The woman they pitted had never stopped being a surgeon. Precision, patience, planning, those never left her. While her legs slept, her mind had been operating at full speed for 8 straight years. Day 1 to day 30 belonged to evidence. Alexander thought the offshore accounts were clever. He had been siphoning Harrington Tech money into Chloe's fake jewelry line. Her wellness retreats, her rented Lamborghinis. Every transfer, every shell company, every forged invoice landed in Amara's inbox because 5 years earlier, when he still pretended to love her, he had given her administrator access so she wouldn't feel useless. She downloaded everything. $187 million rerouted, signed by his own digital signature. She zipped the files, encrypted them, and slept like a baby. Day 31 to day 60 belonged to allies. 3 board members Alexander had stabbed in the back years ago. Victoria Lang, Raj Patel, and old Marcus Green still carry the scars. Amara sent each of them a single email from an anonymous address. Subject line 1 and gone for good. Attached were the first 10 pages of proof. Within 48 hours, all 3 were on private jets to her mansion. They cried when they saw her. She didn't. She poured tea and said, "I don't want tears. I want 13.2% of the float. In return, you get your company back and your revenge served ice cold." They signed the proxy agreements before dessert. Day 61 to day 90 belonged to the internet that loved her. Amara created the Phoenix coin, a charity meme token with one promise. Every dollar raised would fund the exact spinal cord trial she needed to walk again. She dropped the contract at 2:17 a.m. on day 61. By sunrise, #PhoenixWife was trending worldwide. Celebrities bought in. Grandmothers in Ohio sent $20. The token went from zero to a $2 billion market cap in 9 days because every woman on Earth wanted a Hanmara the sword. She converted the profits to Harrington Tech stock through a dozen layer trusts. The world thought they were donating to help her walk. They were actually buying her the company 1 Satoshi at a time. Alexander noticed none of it. He was too busy flying Chloe to Paris for lunch. She posted videos mocking bitter wheelchair girls who can't keep a man. The comments turned into war zones. Brands started quietly pulling out of deals with her. Alexander laughed and told his lawyer to prepare a $200 million divorce settlement, convinced Amara would crawl away grateful. She never even opened the envelope. Day 100, the emergency shareholders meeting. Alexander strode into the glass boardroom like he owned the planet. Navy suit, smug smile, Chloe on his arm in 6 inches heels and a white mini dress. Cameras rolled. The feed was live on every financial channel. He took his seat at the head of the table and winked at the room. "Let's make this quick, folks." The doors opened again. Amara wheeled in wearing pure white cashmere, diamonds at her throat, hair in a sleek crown braid that made her look like royalty about to take a throne. The room stood without being asked. Alexander's smirk faltered for half a second. She rolled to the center, pressed the button, and the 70 inches screen behind her lit up with a single number, 51.2%. "Good morning," she said, voice smooth as velvet and sharp as scalpels. 8 years ago, my husband promised to carry me when I couldn't walk. Today, I'm returning the favor by carrying his company into a future he no longer controls. She clicked. The embezzlement files exploded across the screen in beautiful, damning color. Gasps. Phones dropped. Chloe actually shrieked. Alexander shot to his feet. "This is fraud," she forged. "Sit down," Amara said quietly. He sat. The room had never heard him obey anyone before. Victoria Lang stood. Motion to remove Alexander Harrington as CEO and chairman. Effective immediately. Raj Patel seconded. Marcus Green all in favor. Every hand went up except Alexander and Chloe's, who wasn't even a shareholder, and suddenly realized no one cared what she thought. 0.4 minutes. That's how long it took to erase a billionaire. Security appeared. Alexander screamed red-faced, veins popping. "You can't do this. I made you. I gave you everything." Amara leaned forward close enough for only him to hear. "No, baby. I made you, and now I'm unmaking you." They dragged him out while he kicked over chairs. Khloe ran after him in tears, live streaming the whole meltdown to her rapidly shrinking audience. By the time they reached the lobby, her follower count was dropping by the thousands per second. Amara stayed on the stage that used to be his. She looked straight into the cameras the world couldn't stop watching and spoke the line that broke the internet all over again. To every woman who's ever been told her silence means she's broken, watch me rise. 1 year later, the Harrington Foundation Gala, now the Amara Phoenix Gala, filled the same ballroom. Only this time the woman at the center wasn't sitting. Robotic legs, sleek black, custom-built by the company she now owned, carried Dr. Amara Harrington across the stage in a crimson gown that shimmered like fire. The crowd rose to its feet in a roar that shook the chandeliers. She stopped in the exact spot where her husband once kissed another woman, lifted a glass of champagne, and smiled the warmest, most dangerous smile the world had ever seen. To second chances, she said, and to the women strong enough to create them for themselves. Cameras flashed again, only this time they weren't capturing humiliation. They were capturing a queen who took back her kingdom one quiet day at a time. And somewhere in a tiny apartment he now shared with Khloe, who was waitressing again, Alexander Harrington watched the live stream and finally understood the difference between a woman who can't walk and a woman who chooses when to strike.